Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, then I am Maddie and it's so lovely to meet you. I post content about motherhood and lifestyle on Tuesdays at 5 PM and Saturdays at 10 AM. I recently posted a question on my Instagram story to see if anybody had any questions regarding motherhood or pregnancy, and I had a really good response to that, so thank you to everybody that did get involved and sent in a question. I had quite a lot, so I have had to group them into topics. I got some really great questions and some personal questions as well, which is really good. So I thought this question was a great question to start off on, and that was, when is it the best time to have a baby? It's like $1 million question. Okay, so the answer to that is there really isn't a right time to have a baby. It's more about when is the right time for you to have a baby. So my personal goals were to be in a stable relationship and to be financially stable before I committed to having a child. I knew I wanted to be in my younger 20s when I had a baby, and when I first met Jack, I was 20, and I remember telling him that I knew that I wanted a baby by 24, 25, and looking back, I can imagine that that was really scary that I told him that. So I was 24 when I found out I was pregnant with Amelie, and then I actually gave birth to her the day after my 25th birthday. So I was born on the 7th of October and Amelie was born on the 8th of October. So yeah, that was an interesting birthday. Like I've said in previous videos, I think I was definitely naive to think how much I would change as a person when I became a mum, and I was definitely naive to the amount of time that you would lose. Just little things like going to the shop. You don't just pop to the shop anymore. It's a big journey out, even if you want to go to the co-op. If you end up sitting and umming and ahhing about having a child forever, obviously you won't end up having a child. You do sometimes need to bite the bullet and do it, because your life is going to change and there's no question about that. To be honest, you never know if you're going to be ready for that change until that change happens, and I believed I was ready. When I had her, I was definitely shocked at how big of a thing it actually is. I know that sounds silly because obviously having a baby is very big, but I don't think you actually realise until you're in that situation. Like, you can't imagine it, if that makes sense. So this leads nicely onto the next question, and it was, will you have another baby? When I first had Amelie, I said that I would happily never have another baby ever again, but I think most mums say this. Nobody wants to think about anything else, you know, going around that area when you've just had one come out. Then as time's moved on, I definitely miss the newborn stage. I think every mum just loves that kind of nurturing stage. So I wouldn't say I'm ready for a baby right now, obviously, because I'm currently studying. Me and Jack have spoke about it, and I think I'll be ready to have another baby when I'm nearing, is that even a word? When I'm nearly 30. So obviously I'm 26 at the moment, and I've like another 2 years nearly to get through of university. Then I want to be in a stable job, wherever that will be. We've obviously got a lot of hurdles to come across before having another baby. So we want to move house after I finish university, and we also need to get Amelie settled into a school. At this moment in time, I don't know whether I want to take a community nursing job or a hospital nursing job. I'm unsure at the moment. So when I get to that point, I've got a lot of boxes to tick and a lot of holes to fill first before I can think of ever introducing another baby into the messy picture. So at the moment, Amelie is our priority, but I wouldn't ever say that we wouldn't have another child. We would love to have more children. I think we'd only have one more. But yeah, so that's the answer to that one. The next set of questions were all based around breastfeeding, so I'll just reel some of them off. It was, did you breastfeed? When did you stop breastfeeding? Did you use formula? If so, what formula did you use? There was loads. So yes, I I went through the whole of my pregnancy knowing that I wasn't going to put pressure on myself to breastfeed. I think back in the day there was a lot of pressure on mums that they had to feel that they needed to breastfeed, and that was really important. It was best for the baby, breast is best and all that. But I decided to not put pressure on myself as I was going through the pregnancy, and I said that to every midwife that I came across. When I first had Amelie, obviously they like to latch the baby to the breast and to see if, you know, they take to it. She did take to it. I can't say I did. I felt quite anxious with it because I didn't know how much she was taking. And I remember I breastfed her for a couple of days so basically I stayed in hospital for 4 days altogether after giving birth to Amelie, but that is another story. If you want to hear more about that, I will. 2 out of the days I tried to breastfeed, and then I couldn't take the fact that she wasn't sleeping. So I had taken like the pre-packed formulas that you're told to take if you're going to formula feed, and I was really unsure which way I was going to go down, so I took some formula with me, and I am so thankful that I did that because I gave her the formula. She took a whole bottle of the formula and then she went straight to sleep. I personally had a lot of anxiety around the fact that I didn't know if I was feeding her enough, and I didn't know if she was full. So when we got home, I did try the breast at night. That was kind of the time that I thought, okay, I'll try this, because obviously Amelie was sleeping in a next to me crib, so it was a lot easier to get her out in the middle of the night and breastfeed. And then I was formula feeding her in the daytime. I just couldn't get on with the breastfeeding, so I completely switched to formula feeding. And then for the formula, we started on, it was an Aptamil one. It was Aptamil Pro Futura, I think it was. It was like £13 a tub. I don't know why we got sucked into trying that, but we tried that, and then she was having a lot of reflux from that. Spoke to a couple of midwives and they said to try something different, so we actually switched to cow and gate, and she was really good on that. So she was on the cow and gate stage 1 for a while, and then she got very, very hungry, and she actually went on to the cow and gate hungry baby. So I think the main thing to take from that is don't put pressure on yourself. If you are thinking about breastfeeding, or if you're thinking about not breastfeeding completely, that's absolutely fine. You do what's best for you and your baby. I'm really happy that I tried breastfeeding. I think I'd kick myself if I hadn't have tried it, and I think I will try it again with my next baby. I'll definitely give it a go, but again, I'm not going to put any pressure on myself if I feel like I'm not feeling it. The next set of questions were all surrounding baby essentials. So questions such as, what would I recommend? What did I buy that I didn't need? Did I buy that I couldn't have lived without? There was just loads of things. Things that I couldn't live without, I'll list them first. First of all, MAM bottles. So MAM is the actual make of the bottle. They're incredible, they are brilliant, they are anti-colic, and I can honestly say that Amelie didn't suffer with colic throughout the whole of her early years. My friend actually suggested these to me, and they're a godsend. They are amazing, and I would truly push anybody to buy those bottles. They're incredible. You can get so many different things with them, so many different attachments. The comforters, like the dummies, they're really good as well. They have lots of different ages, orthodontic ones, glow in the dark ones. They're just brilliant. We also use the MAM toothbrush, which is also brilliant. When she went and moved to a sippy cup, they have loads of different like accessories to put on the bottles that you've already got to introduce her to holding the bottle. So MAM bottles all the way. So another thing I would 100% recommend would be the Sleepyhead. We had the Sleepyhead Deluxe, and honestly, they are expensive to buy for what seems essentially a pillow. I think they're the only brand that you're actually allowed to leave your baby to sleep in. So I know that there's a lot of like Nest pillows and things on the market, which are absolutely fine for your child to nap in, but not necessarily sleep the whole night in. But with the Sleepyhead, they are allowed to completely sleep in that for as long as they want. These are brilliant. We used to take it around the house. She could nap anywhere in the house because we had that Another thing they're great for is if you are on the go, so if you go to grandparents or friends or anybody's house, you can take the sleepy head and put it where it's appropriate for the child to sleep. I couldn't have lived without the sleepy head as much as I couldn't have lived without the bottles. They were absolutely fantastic, and as the child gets older and taller, and Amelie is quite tall, you just unclip the bottom and they have room. Sleepy head went from the snooze pod, we then put it into the big cot, and it's gone with her throughout the time. You can end up buying one for, I think it's when they get to 8 months onwards, and I believe that that goes up to about 2 years or 3 years old, they can sleep in that. We were going to buy one, and then we tried her without it and she slept absolutely fine, so we didn't bother with that. If we had had trouble with her sleeping, then we would have definitely invested in the bigger size. So for things that we wouldn't recommend, I didn't have a lot on the list. To be honest, I've only got one thing, and it's quite a big thing. When we bought our pushchair, we went for the Cybex Pream, and we bought it at the NEC baby show. Loved the pram, it's absolutely brilliant. We've stuck with a lot of the Cybex things. After the pram, we ended up going to the stroller. We really like Cybex as a brand, they are brilliant. But the one thing that we didn't use, and obviously we bought as a package, was the carry cot. So the carry cot is obviously the big attachment that goes on the top, and it's like a cot basically that attaches to the legs. We didn't use that once, and I believe that that added about £250 onto the price of the pushchair. And the reason we didn't use it is because the car seat that attaches onto the pushchair and you can use in the car actually lies flat. So there's a little lever and you can pull it out and the baby can sleep lying flat. You can't use that function in the car, obviously, because it's not safe, but you can use that on the pushchair, hence why we never ever used the carry cot. If you do end up getting a car seat that lies flat, I really wouldn't bother with the carry cot. It was a waste of money for us, and it's now just sitting up in our loft. We've never used it, we've never even taken the tags off it. Next lot of questions were all about weaning and solid food and things like that. So when did I put Amelie on solids? What did I use? Did I use any brands? Did I home cook? So I'm going to be honest, I completely ignored what the health visitors tell you. So the recommended advice now is to start weaning at 6 months old. I started Amelie at 4 months old. And the reason I did this is because she was sitting perfectly fine at 4 months old, and I believe that she needed a little bit more than just the milk. So I didn't start with anything too drastic, or obviously anything she needed to chew because she didn't have any teeth. The first thing I tried her with was avocado. I eat a lot of avocado and it's really soft, especially when it's like really ripe. She had avocado and absolutely loved it. I used to blitz vegetables up and try her with different textures and that sort of thing. So when she got to about 6 to 7 months, that's when she started to kind of eat proper meals as such. Still pureed food, obviously. Baby porridge, she was not a fan of. We really struggled with breakfast, big time. So in the morning, she just used to tend to have like yogurt or pureed fruit, that sort of thing, and her milk, obviously. And then with actual meals, I did used to get a lot of the Ella's Kitchen. They were really good for when she first started eating solids. Pureed fruits, I think they had baby rice in some of them, Greek yogurt styles, there was all sorts. So she used to have a lot of those. And then Aldi, they do kind of like a dupe of the Ella's Kitchen, so we used to buy quite a few of those. Then when it started to giving her like a proper meal at night time, I would either blitz up something that we were having in the food processor, so if it was spaghetti bolognese or something like that. But then sometimes for convenience, she would have pre-prepared meals, so we used to stick to either the Aldi ones or she used to have Hip Organic, and she still sometimes has the Hip Organic lasagna now because that's years 1 to 3 and she absolutely loves that. I'm not going to say that I home cooked all of her dinners because I definitely didn't, and sometimes I still don't now, just depending on time and what's going on. But 9 times out of 10 at night now, she has exactly what we're having, because obviously she's got a full set of teeth and she is eating proper dinners. When it comes to weaning, I think you just need to go with what your instinct's telling you. If you feel like your child is ready to eat solid foods, then try them. There's no harm in trying something like avocado or banana or something that's really soft and easy for them to swallow. And it helped me starting it earlier, because I was definitely a bit anxious about the whole choking thing. I did it in a stage. It was a very slow process, and I think that that really helped her. For me personally, if I was to have another child, I would try and aim for 4 months again, but obviously it's all depending on what the child's doing. So Emily was quite forward when she was younger. She was sitting upright, she could hold herself upright, so I was happy to go with feeding her at 4 months. The next lot of questions were surrounding hospital bags. What did you take to the hospital? Do you feel like you needed at the hospital? Do you feel like you overpacked? Did you underpack? Obviously Mothercare isn't around anymore, and Mothercare is where I did get a lot of my ideas from, because when you used to go to Mothercare and obviously they see that you're expecting a baby, they used to give you like this little booklet and it said on it exactly what you needed to take in the bag. Did a little bit of research, and online you can actually get onto the Marks and Spencer's website and they have the list there for you, and it's a list of what you'll need and the list of what the baby will need. But I'll insert them just here and you'll be able to see kind of, you know, what sort of things that you need to be looking at taking. I definitely overpacked, but that is nothing new for me. The one thing I'd say definitely to take is an extra pillow. If you like pillows, you do only get one in the hospital. It's not a hotel, it is a hospital. I took a V pillow and a normal pillow. And then the other thing is a really random thing, and it's a Lucozade bottle. It's the sport bottle. I'll insert it here. And these are brilliant. I don't like Lucozade, so Jack emptied the Lucozade out of it and put water in, and they were brilliant. Like, I can't even explain how good they were. Basically, when you drink from it, you can tip it up. So if you're like lying in the bed, you can tip it up and water won't come out of it until you actually obviously suck on the bottle. And honestly, game changer. They are brilliant, and any mum that goes into hospital, I always say get these Lucozade bottles because you will love me for knowing it. So you can literally lie back, take as many sips as you need, and then obviously throw the bottle to whoever. And they are really, really good. You don't need a straw, you don't need anything, but it's easy access to just get a bit of fluid whilst you're going through the birth. Definitely essential. I'd say something that I didn't need in my bag was probably makeup. I took makeup and I didn't feel up to doing it, but you might have a different experience to me and you might have a bit more energy than I did, and you might want to make yourself feel a bit better before you leave the hospital or whatever, but I couldn't even think about it, so that was definitely a wasted pack for me. So this question was quite random. Basically it said, when did you buy shoes? So I'm assuming that they mean not for me. I'm assuming that they mean shoes for the baby. So with shoes, we obviously had no idea. With us being first time parents, we didn't know what was normal or anything, but I remember all our parents saying that you needed to go to Clark's and get them sized properly. Our first pair of shoes that she actually had were a pair of cruisers, they call them. So basically they go from cruisers to the actual walking shoes in Clark, and I'll insert a picture here of what the cruisers look like. The cruisers are so good because they're not a solid bottom and they have like a rounded toe. These are good for when the baby is starting to stand, and they also help with crawling and can get a bit of grip on the floor with the actual shoe. They were fantastic, and I definitely saw a difference in the way that Emily progressed with her walking and her crawling from using the cruisers. And then Emily started walking at 11 months old, so that's when we took her to get sized again, and she ended up having a proper flat solid pair of shoes. And we got them all from Clark's, but we also end up buying other things like trainers and bits and pieces like that. When it comes to shoes, again, it's all about what the baby is doing and how you feel that they're progressing. I definitely recommend Clark's for getting your first pair of shoes. It's a nice experience. You get like a little certificate and you get a 20% off voucher, I think it is, for your next pair of shoes that you're going to buy, which I didn't end up taking because I completely forgot where that was. You can get buckles, Velcro, all sorts, and they are really, really good. The question that I'm rounding up on is another personal question, and I thought that this was really good to address. And it was, what did you love and hate about pregnancy? And I got quite a few of them through in different variations, but I thought I'd just round it into that question. So what did I love and what did I hate about pregnancy? I can easily tell you what I hated about pregnancy. The list is endless. I wasn't a massive fan of being pregnant, if I'm brutally honest. I know that there's a lot of mums out there that love the pregnancy stage and they really enjoy feeling really glowy. Yeah, I didn't feel like that at all. I felt quite down. I felt frumpy. I felt like I'd been taken over by a whale. Didn't feel the glow. That didn't happen for me. So I hated how I looked. I just didn't feel... I didn't feel how I expected to feel. I don't know how that was meant to be, but I didn't feel great about myself. I think it didn't help that there wasn't really a selection of good maternity clothes around when I was pregnant, but I've seen that places like Misguided and places like that are actually doing really nice maternity clothes now. So I do wish that something like that was around when I was pregnant, and hopefully things like that will stick around for when I'm next pregnant, whenever that will be. The thing that I hated, and I think this was the main thing, was the out of control feeling. I felt like obviously I'd got this life inside of me and I was growing this life, but I didn't have any control over how that happened. So I understand the fact that you can obviously have control over what you eat and how you act when you're pregnant, but I think it was the things that were out of my control that I didn't like, and I used to worry a lot about what was happening to her inside of me. Definitely not really a feeling that I liked. I'm just honest, and I just don't feel like the pregnancy bit was for me. Do the birth over 1,000 times over the 9 grueling months of pregnancy. I also don't think it helped that I ended up being pregnant through like the hottest time of English history. It was absolutely sweltering and that was really, really hard. And I was heavy when it was like that as well. Which things that I loved were, I loved feeling her kick. That was just the best feeling ever. I used to love playing her music and that I'd get her moving and I could feel her kick and move about more. I loved going baby shopping. Any excuse for a bit of shopping and I am there. Also loved going to the scans and the antenatal appointments. I felt like, because obviously me and Jack would go together, it was a really special time for me and him to bond over the baby. Yeah, they're memories that I'll never forget, so I really, really enjoyed that. I loved having an excuse to eat what I wanted and when I wanted, and I was caught many a time at a traffic light with a 6-pack of donuts. That was incredible. You just didn't get judged, and I loved that. And I know it sounds really cliche, but I loved having her and I loved bringing her into the world, and I love the happiness that she's brought to the pair of us, to be honest. She's our absolute sunshine on a very rainy day sometimes. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you don't already follow me on Instagram, please head over and follow me. I upload polls and questions on my story just to get an idea of what you want to see as the viewer. I've got a garden makeover coming up, just some little changes, but it's going to make a whole lot of difference to our garden. It's just a little bit of a vlog to show you us going from real grass to artificial grass. Make sure you hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss it.